Oh, hello.
Emma, hello. She is a screenwriter, writer, actor. She's a dame. She's one of the most cherished actors of her generation, and many of you, but she's also a truly, truly impactful activist. She's the kind of friend that always has the best book and, of course, film recommendations. She's the kind of friend that knows when it's time to book ourselves into a health spa. The one where we both got diagnosed as metabolically obese and laughed our heads off and spent the evenings. Where did your feminism come from?
Well, my mother worked, so it was clear that women worked. And when my father died quite young, my sister left school at 16 and went straight into work. And when my father died, we all had to work because we all had to go straight into work. I think that work was a very powerful influence there. But I would say that the lights really switched on with my feminism was when I realized that there was actually a different way of interpreting literature, because I studied literature, and the discovery of feminist literary criticism changed the way in which I saw the entire world, because I realized that the authoritative voices that I had been brought up with, and particularly at university at Cambridge, all of the literary critics, the great literary critics, were men. Yeah. And I suddenly read this extraordinary book called The Mad Woman in the Attic by Gilbert and Gubar, I think their names are. And I suddenly realized that it was possible to interpret the works of George Eliot, or at the time, Charlotte Bronte, through a completely different lens. And it was one of the most inspiring things that has ever happened to me. And I never, ever looked back. Every time I saw something and heard a voice in authority that was male, I thought, I bet there's another side to this.
Right. Where did that come from?
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure, but it's been from childhood, being unable to bear injustice or cruelty in particular. And I can't identify it further than the feelings of being a child and knowing when something was wrong and trying to put it right. And I would say, I'm sure there are a lot of women listening to us talk who have that same desire. Sometimes you have to kind of make it down a little bit, because it's like a kind of great pull. You have to do something right now. And sometimes it's the wrong time to do something. You have to find the right way in which to act. And I suppose that's been my learning curve all my life. How do I use my voice? How do I get myself into a position where I'm well enough informed in a deep enough way actually to be useful, instead of just making a noise about something that I feel passionately about, but I'm not really well versed enough in. That's very important.
Right, should be getting to them.
We all dance at the Pointless Party while she looks for a question. You all need to know. Look for your question. Focus, Joe. And I'm just saying to everyone, the audience, apart from anything else, how wonderful to be speaking to you. But the actual point of the Pointless Party is to dance.
Yeah.
I really recommend dancing, especially if you're an activist. It's really helpful, just saying.
How do you speak up to the men in your life about these issues that we face as women? So how do you talk to the guys? How do you tell them that this is wrong without them, getting defensive?
Well, it depends who. It just depends who. I'm quite sort of brutal. Yeah. I don't really soft soap anything. Sometimes I have to, I don't know whether any of you have this, but my son and my husband are quite bored with hearing about feminism.
Okay. Well, because they're feminists, right?
Quite bored. Well, are they? Are they though? I mean, I have been really tough on them, sometimes, and I think they probably, of course they are. Of course they are internally.
They know what to say. They know what to say, but they don't always do the right thing.
They know what to say so that I don't hit them around the head with a frying pan. Yeah, they do. But also they know the ins and outs as well. They've spent enough time listening, and it's a good question, but it's a
Well,
difficult, because I don't quite know which men in what.
for so many, particularly young men, that feel so disenfranchised right now, you know, and that there is a lot of focus on women's leadership. And so how do we, what's that?
They need to lean in, you know, that dreadful Sandberg thing, lean in, forget it. Don't do that. No,
No, but
it's only what men have already had for a very long time. It's just, it's equal rights. It's equality, you know. It's not some weird thing that everyone, I don't want to say I'm a feminist. There's a whole patch of time when people didn't want to say they were a feminist, and I didn't understand what they were talking about. We all need to be able to access all of them, and we need to move away from saying that the softer so-called feminine emotions, such as vulnerability, such as caring, kindness, etc., are somehow soft options that belong only to the subspecies, and that the big, tough, strong things, no, actually, of course, that's nonsense. Everyone has everything inside them.
Right.
And so we need to connect to one another in all the ways that it's absolutely possible to do. And that is only, I think the real change happens through conversation.
Yeah,
I really do think that. Good conversation, face to face, eyeball to eyeball. And everyone can do that. Everyone can do that every day.
Thank you both so much for taking the time today. This concludes